Hello everyone, welcome to a new video for Bitcoin price prediction based on Elliott Wave analysis. And as you can see, Bitcoin is pushing for higher prices. As expected, we got, of course, the breakout here at the 90k 647, and we see, of course, a push toward the upside here after the triangle, and we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5 continuation toward the upside. So we finish a wave E exactly there, an aggressive and very fast wave E, pushing again, of course, for higher prices, where we have a 1, 2 here, and we got, of course, a wave 3 toward the upside unfolding here in an impulse, and currently we are in the wave 3 in Siberia 1 2. So we got a wave 3 inside it. We are looking for 4 5 4 and a 5, and then of course continuation toward the upside here for higher prices. I'm expecting at least, of course, to take the high here, which is the formation of an ABC, at least, of course, zigzag, where we have a diagonal already 1 2 3 4 and a 5, and then wave B, and then the wave C. Of course, the wave B is the W, X, and a Y, and then the wave C right now is unfolding for the 1-to-1 fib level 98k 700 at least. And I'm expecting, of course, the invalidation to be taken then. Well, it's already invalidated, guys. By time here for wave 4, we cannot expect a 1, 2, 3 wave. 4 is very long in time. So therefore, of course, here it's kind of like very close for a confirmation that we are in a, at least in a diagonal toward the downside, meaning a 1, 2, and then 3, 4, and a 5. For of course an ending diagonal. Don't forget, of course, the daily here is that we might shift it to this scenario, which is of course the ending diagonal, as a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5, after having an A, B, and a C here to hit the 1.61870k, and of course around it, and then we push for a new bull run. Now, in case that the price will break the 1-to-1 fib level decisively, and we see, of course, a push toward the upside further, that means, of course, it's a signal that we might be in something bullish there, which is, of course, the ending diagonal of this bull run, which is still playing there as a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. The wave 5 is a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5 ending diagonal. Of course, after breaking the wave 5, if the wave 5 is longer than wave 3, hitting, of course, the 1-to-1 fib level and then pushing for higher, then okay, we shift for something much more bullish, which is a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5 here extension. And we will have to relabel this as double 1, 2, and wave 3 is unfolding toward the upside for Bitcoin. So very interesting for Bitcoin. I'm still looking, of course, for higher prices. The things are very bullish right now, and we're looking, of course, for the 99k basically. Now, if we take a look at the indicators, since this is also the indicator analysis, we're gonna start with the RSI here on the 1-hour chart. So for the RSI on the 1-hour chart, as you can see, the price here is moving, of course, above the sold area, but oversold area. But basically, even if we have a divergence for the bearish here, we gotta be careful. Of course, it's gonna take a little bit of ranging here for the wave 4 and a 5, 4 and a 5. But I'm expecting that the RSI here, of course, take its time above the oversold area, at least on the 1-hour chart as well, and before dropping for anything very massively toward the downside again. For the 4 hours chart here as well, we are touching the overbought area here, and we're looking, of course, still for higher. Again, I would like to see, of course, the RSI ranging above it for a while before we push for lower over there as well, despite the the potential exhaustion that we see here, because it's a convergence. It's an exhaustion, of course, and it might push slowly, of course, toward the upside to reach our target still on the 4 hours chart. I'm still, of course, convinced that the things might range, of course, above the overbought area. On the daily, we have a very good signal, and this is exactly what we have to take it as reference on the indicators, because the daily has broken the center line for the RSI, and I'm looking for the daily to reach at least, of course, the overbought area here. before starting to drop toward the downside. I'm not expecting yet, of course, to range above it, but at least to touch it and then looking for something for lower, which means, of course, we might take as this high, at least, which is the invalidation for Bitcoin. On the weekly as well, we're still below the center line, and I believe, of course, at the same time, when the daily will reach, of course, the overbought area, the weekly might reach the center line, playing as a resistance, probably pushing for lower later on, in case we are going to continue here in an ending diagonal. So very interesting to watch, of course, the center line as well for the weekly here. Yep, very interesting. And also, if you would like to see the monthly as well, the monthly is still above the center line, which is also very, very likely, of course, to have a push towards the upside here before coming back to the center line within the diagonal here to finish up, of course, the wave two and then pushing for higher. So everything here on the RSI is somehow in confluence between support and resistance area within the RSI as well. Yep, so very interesting as I still bullish, and of course, especially on the macro level. The micro level might shows, of course, some resistance, but I believe that we might, of course, push for higher sooner or later. Now, if we push for the MACD on the 1 hour chart, we are looking at the MACD line and the signal line. Of course, they have a bullish cross here, exactly pushing for the wave 3 toward the upside, and we're still building a momentum there. Despite that, the MACD and the signal line are getting closer for something for bearish cross, but I believe, of course, that this might still continue for higher prices as well. For the 4 hour chart, we're still very open. We're building momentum still in green, a strong momentum, and the signal and the MACD line are open for higher prices still. And for the daily, we have the same thing. We have a bullish cross here, and of course, building a momentum for the green with a very, very small momentum for the sellers here. It's a signal of strength and pushing for higher. I'm expecting the MACD line and the signal line to push above the center line and to build up, of course, a little bit stronger momentum for a while here on the daily until we reach at least the 99K, and of course to see something else dropping toward the downside. For the weekly as well, we see, of course, the momentum for the seller is, of course, reducing so much, and we see the MACD line and the signal line are getting closer for something as a bullish cross here, which I doubted that it might sustain so much, because of course it might reach the center line later on and pushing for lower after reaching this price potentially and pushing again for the diagonal. So in confluence with our scenario, this is looking perfect, honestly, and I still see, of course, that this will play exactly as a resistance here, the center line on the weekly. And for the monthly, of course, we're still in a bearish cross there. We see the MACD line and the signal line, of course, are still open for lower. Yeah, so on the monthly, we might see, of course, some green candles, but of course, reaching the 99K and pushing for lower prices. For the KGT here, we are looking at the 30 seconds time frame. We're looking also for something bearish as conversions here within the price. So I'm expecting, of course, a push a little bit for lower prices there in the top. But don't forget that this is a multiple 4 and a 5 formation. So I'm expecting, of course, a little bit lower and then pushing for higher later on, getting some strength after it, and then of course to finish a wave 3 as expected here for our wave 3. So basically, I would say even here, let me just put the target for wave 3. So I'm looking at least for the 93K 400 in a wave 3 before we push for lower over there. Yeah, so very interesting. Also for the KGT, we're looking also at the volume here. So the volume also shows here, of course, a finished structure. As we can see, of course, a very high volume exactly on the wave E, which is, of course, very understandable that it has finished here a structure and we start to push for higher over there. Now, what I'm expecting, of course, to see is, of course, even higher volume here for wave 3 once we reach, of course, the 1.618. A very high amount of volume should appear here. higher than this one, of course, and I'm still looking for it, of course, for this volume on the 4 hours chart as well. We can see this high amount of volume as well, finishing here the wave E and then pushing, of course, toward the upside after a W, X, and a wave Y there, and then starting something, of course, as a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. For the volume also on the daily, well, the highest amount of volume is still, of course, on the slow, which is signaling, of course, a finished structure. And we're looking for another structure. I'm expecting, of course, another high volume here for a wave 2, which it can, of course, unfold a wave 3, 4, and a 5 later on as a diagonal. So yeah, to be watched, of course, for the indicator as well. They are really very good in confluence, I would say, within the scenarios, of course, from the micro to the macro level. However, to be much more precise here, of course, it's better to follow the macro level for the indicators, especially RSI and MACD, because the micro level might be confusing a little bit. Of course, since we are looking at some over bought areas, of course, for the RSI, for example. But I believe, of course, that it might still continue toward the upside here. It's not, of course, a finished structure, unless, of course, we're gonna get something here as an ABC finished, kind of like a potential WXNOY and a bigger WXNOY. But I doubt this scenario so much, because even within this scenario as WXNOY, preferably to take the high here. So WXNOY. So therefore, I'm looking at least for the 95K again, and I'm still looking for higher prices. Yep, so this is regarding Bitcoin for the Elliott Wave and indicators analysis. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your likes and comments. See you in the next one. Bye bye.